The Boston Bruins have made some roster moves ahead of tomorrow's playoff game versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. The beginning of the series is going to be a very big one, which the roster is going to have to be figured out ahead of tomorrow's game. Many changes are going to be made and some players called up, and this is the perfect scenario for the Boston Bruins at this moment. So we're going to be talking about who they called up, what changes they made in this lineup that makes it such a crucial decision ahead of tomorrow's series beginning game, as well as the Toronto Maple Leafs potentially losing a star player for Game 1. So we're going to be talking about all of that here in this video. Before we do, very quickly, we noticed that 81% of you guys watching right now are not subscribed to the channel. You're looking for a spot to get all of your Boston Bruins news throughout this playoff series. You're in the right spot. Make sure to hit the sub button. I'll be keeping you up to date with everything this team has to offer. It's free, and you can unsubscribe at any time if you don't want to stay up to date. But let's get right into this. We have a lot of news here today, so let's start off with the first one. I would say the biggest one right now. The Boston Bruins have made a few roster moves in which I discussed in yesterday's video, and they were the ones that we wanted. And they were set to recall a few players from the Providence Bruins, which they did here. This comes from Connor Ryan. Johnny Beecher and Mason Lohrei recalled from Providence. Two of the moves that we wanted to see made ahead of this Game 1 that we are going to see tomorrow. And I think these were the two realistically best moves this team could have done ahead. They said they were going to call up two. Johnny Beecher being the guy who's been up and down all season, a very, very good centerman at his young age, and will definitely be a great piece in this playoffs if he does make the lineup at any point, but he will definitely be a great replacement if need be in any situation. Mason Lohrei, a guy I personally didn't want to see get sent down to the AHL, but it really did make sense when that happened due to him not playing and being scratched for a little, I can't remember the exact amount of time, but a good amount of time and not playing. And the Bruins just wanted him to get into some game action, so it was the right decision, but calling these two up for this playoff run was definitely a crucial decision to make, just in case any injuries happen, any suspensions, anything along the lines of that where a move needs to be made. Those two are really the guys that we want to see fill in the roles. We've seen them this year with the Bruins play a very good game. They played their own game. They haven't gotten thrown off of it from whoever their opponent is, and they definitely recognize the scenario that they're going to be here in against the Toronto Maple Leafs. But in those moves, in all of the changes that are going to be made here ahead of tomorrow's game, Brad Marchand has kind of spoken to the media and spoken to the team about what a series like this means to, just about everybody in a Boston Bruins or a Toronto Maple Leafs uniform. And he had this to say on the NHL.com article. He said, "You see the excitement they have all throughout Canada when they're in the playoffs," Marchand said Thursday. "Makes it a lot of fun to play them, and I think just with the history we've had in the recently, they're probably our biggest rival right now over the last decade. They've probably surpassed Montreal and any other team of that kind, where a rivalry is gone. Just because they've been so competitive with each other, and we've had a few playoff series. Sorry about that. It definitely brings the emotion, the intensity up in the games, and excitement for the fans. It's a lot of fun to play them, and this is one thing that you wanted to see from Brad Marchand in this situation. You wanted to see him recognize this scenario once again. He's one of the only guys that have been there for just about every playoff series. And he recognizes the whole different aspect of a playoff game between these two teams. And he's going to be the guy to spread that information to all these younger kids that have made the Bruins roster this year. And it's going to be a big thing to get them to acknowledge what this means to the city of Boston, to the city of Toronto, and, just fans of those two teams, wherever they may be. So I'm very excited to see what this team pulls off in Game 1 tomorrow. Whether it be something that we need to see changed, whether it's something that we need to see, switched around, or whether it's going to be a perfect game. That's only going to be a matter of time to find out what happens in that time. But we have another pretty crucial roster move or lineup change that this team has made ahead of tomorrow's game. It's a power play one, actually. One thing the Bruins have definitely struggled at this season is the power play, and it's kind of a different situation in the 5-on-5 due to this as well. So I'll pull up the lines here from Pluto Shinzawa, and you can see in the third line defense there are two righties in Andrew Peeke, Kevin Shattenkirk, and Kevin Shattenkirk has really been the X factor this team has needed on the power play. He's really the best power play defenseman that this team possesses, apart from Charlie McAvoy and whatnot. But from the power play lines of what we've seen, Charlie McAvoy being moved down to the second unit and Kevin Shattenkirk being moved to the first. And this is one thing that Jim Montgomery and Don Sweeney have discussed, is that this is going to be one where we need Kevin Shattenkirk here to actually run the power play, to work in the power play. We know he's been good at that in the past, and we know we're gonna need to take advantage of every opportunity we can get against this Toronto Maple Leafs roster. Their goaltending is not the strongest, but it is still very good. So that's one thing that we need to keep in mind, is that they're not unbeatable on the goaltending, the defensive side of things, but they can kill you with their offense. So we're going to need to take advantage of every opportunity we can get in these first few games, especially the early ones. You don't want to lose a game on home ice to the guys going back home. That's just one thing that really takes the momentum, takes the wind out of your sails ahead of the remaining games of the series. But I do like this move, that what we see here on the power play of Kevin Shattenkirk being on that power play. One, it's a bit concerning to me that he's playing on the weak side for the power play. For the 5-on-5 with Andrew Peeke, but I do think Peeke is really going to be a big part of that line to help control that, keep it where it is. And we also have Kevin Shattenkirk there available for a shot on that left side for a one-timer if need be. So it's going to be a bit weird on the wall if something is cleared out, but the offensive side of it, I think it's going to be worth it in the meantime. So that's one thing that is going to be definitely noticeable in Game 1, and one thing that we will take a look at after the game tomorrow. Whether it be good, bad, whatnot, I'm still going to take a look at it regardless, because that's a big move that this team has made. But we have one final topic here today, and this is the Maple Leafs roster update. Not one that we normally see, not a team that we usually keep up to date with, but everything that this team has now, we kind of got to keep a close eye on. And this is a very big one here. It comes from Elliot Friedman. Toronto's head coach Sheldon Keefe declared William Nylander and Bobby McMann, who did not practice today, as possibilities for Game 1. Now, I know possibilities don't mean in, it don't mean out, but being a possibility is still something that the Bruins are going to like to see. You know, you don't want anybody to be injured. That's one thing. If someone's out, you're probably lucky, but you don't want anybody injured long-term, whatnot, for the game we love. We like to see the players have fun. But for this scenario right now, the fact that William Nylander and Bobby McMann, who's been pretty good for the Toronto Maple Leafs as of late, and William Nylander, who has been slowed down, but still is a top 5 player on this team, no doubt, and definitely one of the best players on this playoff Toronto Maple Leafs roster we've seen in the past few years. The fact that these two are possibilities are really big for the Boston Bruins. We need to take advantage of these two being out. If they are out, once again, it's a possibility, so they still could be in, but if they are out, we need to take advantage of their offense not being the best it can be. So it's going to be one thing to see William Nylander out or in regardless. We know that what kind of player he is. Even though he's slowed down, that don't mean that we can kind of let him go, let him be. Because he's still one of the players that will absolutely give 100% in these playoffs and can kill you if you don't get in front of his shots and get in front of him towards the net. So that's one thing that the Bruins are going to need to take advantage of here. But from what we've seen, the Bruins look healthy enough. What we know, the goalies are not disclosed yet. No injuries are disclosed, nor would they be, because we don't want to give any information to the Maple Leafs. But I got to say, I like our chances tomorrow. I'm going to have a video tomorrow with the guys over Leaf Digest here. I'm going to have one on their channel and one over here. So we'll be taking a look at that, kind of heckling, I guess, a bit here and there. But some pretty big news today, and I'm assuming some big news tomorrow as well, as we head into Game 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. So I'm very excited for this. Nerves are starting to really pick up here. But if you want to stay up to date with all of Boston Bruins news, make sure to hit the sub button. I'll be keeping you guys up to date with everything that this team has to offer here in these playoffs. But like I said, that's all I got. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.